Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to talk about the Cowboys annual pre-draft press conference that Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Jason Garrett had together. I love watching these because there's a lot of clues into the strategy and just really good information here. So I'm going to break down the key parts of this press conference, alright? So this is serious. We're talking draft. And we are days away. It's right around the corner. I can smell Philadelphia right now. All right, we are almost there. All right, so let's take a look at it. Some of the comments here from Jerry Jones and the Brain Trust. All right.
For you, would you be more likely to move back than to look forward if you're looking to make any move there?
This is a real good year for staying put, and I don't know if it's because we need so many good football players or because there's some good football players there, but especially in those early rounds, in my experience, it's wasting your time to talk about what you might do trading in the later rounds. But as far as value, what opportunities we might have there, you don't ever want to just predetermine what you're going to do, but you certainly, if you stay there, will have an opportunity to really help our team, in my view. So,
all right, so Jerry Jones is talking about staying put at 28. The draft is pretty deep. There's no need to move up not early on. Okay, so he kind of made that key there. I do think that there will be possibilities for them to move down, okay, in the later rounds, third, fourth rounds. I think that's going to be the sweet spot. Move down, accumulate picks. This draft is still deep through the end of the fifth round, early sixth. I mean, this is a badass draft, right? So let's take a look at these next comments here.
You won't see as much interest in redshirting players or that type of thing that we might have seen in the past, but I wouldn't want to rule it completely out if the opportunity were there. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be, as we've seen, it just happens we've done that in that second round 2 or 3 times here recently. But I don't ever want to rule that out as far as a real opportunity for value there. And as we sit here right now, we're really...
All right, so he's talking about redshirting players. Okay, we've heard these comments already before that they wouldn't take redshirt players, but he never did at any point before this say that they would not be drafting a player to be redshirted. I think he's talking about more early, first and second round. Third and fourth, however, it could be a possibility, all right? And like you said, he's not ruling it out. The question is, who would be there? I think if there was a Sidney Jones that were to fall there in the third, probably talking about him. Fourth round, if Jake Butt is there and they haven't addressed tight end, he would be a steal there. He will play this year, so he's not a full-blown redshirt. So that would be my guess there in the fourth round, right? So let's take a look at this next comment.
And I'm very fortunate in that I've got someone that has been doing this and right in the middle of it, and actually right in the decision-making for the last 28 years with Stephen. And he has literally evolved in his career from the cap system from the get-go. And so that's big for us. And that's big for us as we look at the strengths of this team right now relative to offense, defense.
All right, so right there, he's talking about the evolution of Stephen Jones. We've been seeing it ourselves. From our point of view, it probably hasn't been 28 years. Obviously, he's been with the team as long as Jerry has been. But we're talking more of here in the recent, I would say, 5 seasons or so, he's really taken more and more of a lead in contracts and more of a face of the executives there. You know, we see more interviews of Stephen Jones, and he was the lead guy there, talking a lot there at the Senior Bowl and making a lot of decisions. For me, the Cowboys, they've been doing this. You know, they developed something here with Garrett. Once he came on, they came up with a philosophy. All of them came together and said, okay, it's time to turn this thing around. Everybody threw their egos out the window. And this really is a a one voice thing. Everybody's goes into this together, and they're making the right decisions, and they're doing good. Now it's time to put that attention to detail into the defensive line. Okay, this is very key information from Jerry. Pretty cool, man. Stephen Jones getting recognition from the man. Okay, let's look at the next comment.
The importance or lack of importance of keeping a first-round pick, having the 5th year for a player as opposed to if you get the opportunity to trade out of the draft.
Stephen has got a nice book that he's written.
I do think the term's important, Brad, at the end of the day, and I think that'll be something we look at. I also believe, you know, when a draft like this, our team, where we are, is, you know, if there's a player there that you like, and you like him a lot, you need to take him. I mean, I think historically, you know, as you trade backwards, you know, inevitably, I think you end up with lesser football players. And so I think, and then you throw the term into it, which is very important, then you certainly have to consider all those things. And, you know, I think as Jerry said, I think this is a great year for us to really, you know, on the front end. Doesn't mean that won't change when the time gets there. You never know what someone might offer you. You never know who's there and who's not. So you don't ever say never. But I think it is a, you know, a great draft to be staying put in terms of, you know, picking who's there when your time comes there. And, you know, I think we did a little study, Shireen, on what the percentages are, and I think it's 86.762. That will get a good player there at that spot. But in all seriousness, I do think the draft sets up good for us.
All right, so again, they're talking more about possible trade downs, but we've been talking about this in our draft videos here. The importance of the 5th round option. If you trade out of the 1st round, you lose that 5th year, that critical year, where in some ways you're still evaluating a player. Okay, that's why some of these guys, they skip the 5th year option because they know what they have. Mo Claiborne was one of those guys. Byron Jones, they're still evaluating him. He has to have a good year this year to see if they're going to pick up his 5th year option. Zach Martin, they picked it up. No brainer. Guy is a franchise cornerstone player. They need that on defense. They need these guys to be what they've been doing on the offense, where they're going to pick up that 5th year option. Okay, so basically what they're talking about here is the importance of that 5th year option. I think they're going to stay put. I don't think they're going to want to trade out, not early on, unless they get some kind of crazy deal with a lot of draft picks thrown at them. In that case, it's possible. But from what they're saying here, you never know. But then again, you never know if these are smoke and mirrors. You got to take a lot of what they're saying with a grain of salt. But at the same time, there are truths in here, okay? So let's take a look at the next clip here.
Earlier you alluded to you haven't ruled out a redshirt type player. What you guys just went through with Randy Gregory, do you take a guy like Luke Foster off your draft board, or is he still in play?
Well, of course, for obvious reasons, we wouldn't, strategy-wise or anywhere, we wouldn't divulge that.
All right, so that clip there was the dumb question of the day. I think it was just a dumb question. Okay, like, the Cowboys are not they're not gonna divulge whether they're gonna draft a certain player or not. That was a wasted question. Sometimes I hate these questions that some of these guys ask. They're just wasted. Okay, that's why I'm breaking this down. There's some questions here that are just fluff and just not draft centric, and some of them are just plain dumb. Okay, so that's why we break this down. So let's look at the next clip.
Same thing on the defensive line. If you say, well, this guy can help us to a certain point, and then, you know, a little bit, I look at our defensive line and I see a lot of positive things going on there. It's just we don't have that guy that just left the room. The guy, when you break the huddle, they look at and say, where is he? We don't have that guy.
All right, so that's Stephen Jones talking about we don't have that player, and that's what we've been talking about here. We don't have that player where the offense has to account for somebody. They have to the offense has to have a hat on a certain guy, double teams, and account for him and game plan against him. They had that with DeMarcus Ware, and you know, they had that with Charles Haley, and they've had that with, you know, Harvey Martin and these other guys that have been all-star defenders. Okay, well, we don't have that right now, and Stephen Jones acknowledged that. And they know they gotta find a player. Okay, like we have plenty of bodies, but we gotta get that guy, the right guy there. Okay, let's go to the next clip.
Ability to, and they are very excited about his feelings in his foot area.
Is it getting the feeling? I mean, it's not that 100%.
Lifting those toes, feeling those toes. Yes, the answer is yes.
Drop foot's still an issue, correct?
Not as much as it was by a significant degree 3 weeks ago. Not as much as it was relation 3 weeks ago as it was 3 weeks before that or 3 weeks before that. And don't make it a given that he's going to have a brace on.
Okay, so right there, they're talking about JAYLON Smith, obviously. The nerve is continuing to regenerate. This isn't anything new that it's suddenly regenerating. There were some reports here that it wasn't and this and that. The truth is, it has been. It's continually been getting better. You know, the video where we talked to JAYLON Smith at the autograph, they're showing at Bombshells. He said he was good. He's back. He's working on his speed, okay? So I'll have a link to that video here in the comments if you want to see that, if you missed out on that video where we talked to JAYLON Smith briefly about his recovery. He's on his way. All right, this is good news, and if he doesn't play with the brace, I mean, this is just good news, okay? We get him back, he's gonna be the beast of beasts in the NFC East, all right? We're gonna start mauling people here. We get some of these guys coming back here, all of a sudden, we're looking at a playoff caliber defense, all right? So let's hope we hit on the defense here in this upcoming draft. And if these guys from the previous draft can come around like Tapper and JAYLON Smith, we're in business, all right? So let's take a look at the next clip.
You know, I don't know that we went into any of those drafts necessarily thinking we had to draft offense. It's kind of the way the board played out. As we all know, when we picked up Zach, you know, we were looking at a lot of defensive football players. So, you know, you can't just go in and say it's positively, absolutely going to be this. And I think that's why we drafted well in the first round, that we hadn't just said, hey, we're going to go to the next defensive player. We're going to go to the next defensive player. I think that's when you get yourself in a lot of trouble. And at some point, what you have left on the board is what's there. And if you pass up really good football players to take guys that you may have a question mark on, then I think that's when you start to make your mistakes. So obviously, I think everybody understands with the resources that we put into our offense, whether it be, as you mentioned, 8 out of the last 10 picks, whether it's financial in terms of the Dezes of the worlds and the Wittens and re-signing now as our offensive linemen move into their second phase of their picks, then, we definitely have some resources tied up in the offensive side of the ball and would, in a perfect world, like to improve and use some more resources on the defensive side of the ball. But
you're right. So that's Stephen Jones talking more about their draft philosophy here. Basically talking about, they'll go into a draft knowing they have needs here, but they're going to be loyal and they're going to be constantly sticking to their board here, okay? So that's why they've been able to hit on a lot of these offensive line players. And I do remember this. There were draft classes where we needed defense. A lot of mock drafts had defense. Took Frederick, took Martin. There's a plan here, a calculated plan, but they are going with the best player available. The Cowboys have something going good here. We're going to be good here for years. We're going to be real good here. We're close. We're close to turning this thing around and riding the ship and heading towards back-to-back-to-back playoffs and being in the hunt every year like the Cheatriots, but without the cheating, all right? So we're about to turn this thing around and return to dominance. Who else is happy about this? Who's pumped about it? Let me know what you guys think about this pre-draft press conference. And what are your takes on it, all right? Pretty interesting stuff here. Very interesting stuff. So that's it, guys. We'll see you here for the next video. Thanks, guys.